Hello, welcome to Caesar's Snack Sandwich. Today I'm going to take a quick look at LandX. Now this is a project that was shown to me today. I took some time to read through the docs and ask a few questions and so forth. And it's pretty interesting. They call themselves the Perpetual Commodity Vaults Protocol. Now it's a way to connect farmers with investors through the blockchain via validators, okay? I'll explain all of these with a flowchart and you'll get an understanding of how these three actors come into play. Now it's pretty interesting because people can use this to do all kinds of things like hedge against inflation, and they get some liquid income, so like, it's dividends, so to speak, and some yield. And like I said, I'll go through this and I'll explain everything to you inside the flowchart, and you'll understand basically how the flow works. But before I do that, I will go into, they have these three kinds of tokens, okay? They have these X tokens, which are the yield tokens. It's basically like a vault token that has yield on it, and it's basically the commodity that backs this vault token is corn, and then we have soy, we have wheat, and we have rice. And then there's talk in the docs about other commodities like, coffee beans and all kinds of other things that could come in the future. They have these C tokens, which are like basically the soy token. This is actually pegged to the price of soy on the exchanges, on like centralized exchanges. And then we have this basket, which is like an index of all of those different, wheat, rice, corn, and soy, if you'd want something that's more diversified in a single position. Okay, so let's swing over to the flowchart and go through that. And as usual, before I do that, I should probably mention you should read the docs. The docs is pretty good. I would suggest you to download this white paper and read that instead. It's a little more full. It has a little bit more explanation inside there. But, jump inside here, ask some questions. As you can see, I asked some questions and this guy here answered me. Okay. So let's go over to the flowchart and take a look at how this system works. Okay, so here I am on the flowchart, and here we have the investor, dollar bill, and his long lost cousin, Willie the farmer. And then we have this validator person in the middle. Now, this doesn't have to be an individual person, but I'm going to call it a person. But it could be an entity, a company, and probably should be a company based on the responsibilities that this validator has, okay? So first things first, okay? So the validator will work with the farmer. In real life, they will talk to them. They will set up a contract. They will, assess the property, assess the farm, and it's the validator's responsibility to make sure this farmer is like quality and has a good track record. So it has to provide at least 5 years of production history to the validator. And then when the validator works with him and explains the system and they decide how much they want to do, then they will set up this contract, this like lien of the, like based on the area of the, like where the farm is, the exact location, the crop, and like how much share of the crop he's willing to give up for basically money now. So the purpose of this protocol is allow the farmer to get some capital now for investments and then to pay it off with future basically crop yield, right? And then the title documents to the farm. So he's basically putting his farm up for collateral to this system in case something bad, really, really bad. There's other safe falls that you will see in the future, but this is like the last case where like he could possibly even lose his farm. So this is a legal document, a legal entity. This has to be done in the real world. So this validator has to work closely with this farmer to set up this system. And so the validator is not just like, it's not like an ETH validator or something, it's not a blockchain validator, so to speak, okay? Now, when he decides he wants to do that, he's going to deposit 2 years worth of like money. So it says he deposits 1 year, but he also has to deposit 1 year of payments. And you'll understand these payments when you start to see where the payments get paid out and so forth. So he's basically, put his farm up as collateral, and then he's also deposited like 1 year's worth of payments and a 1 year contract. So he's put up a lot of collateral to protect his side, but then he can get all of these back in the end when he decides to close down his position. So they're all deposits, but so he's collateralizing his his borrow in a sense. Okay, so after he has the NFT, he can deposit the NFT into the contracts, right? Not actually the validator, but into the LandX contracts, and mint up a whole bunch of X tokens. Okay, so they're like the Volt tokens. Now, why would he want to use this system instead of going to the bank? Well, first of all, it's like there's no minimum. Like he can borrow like $20 if he wanted to, or he could borrow like, something less. Like if you go to the bank and he wants a loan, there's limitations on it. Like maybe they're like, oh, we'll give you a loan, but you have to borrow this much, or you have to borrow that much. Like they're not going to give him like a loan for, $2,362. You know what I mean? So it's kind of gives him that the freedom to borrow whatever he wants and so forth. There's no minimum term. So a lot of bank loans, like, oh, you have to borrow, but you have to pay interest for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? And then they'll let you borrow. But here it's like that you don't have to do that. You don't even, there's not even any interest per se, but like there's no term. There's no like set term where like he can close down this position at almost any time. And you'll see in a sense how that works. And then there's of course less administrative fees. Like he doesn't have to pay for all the bankers and all the building, the brick and mortar building and stuff like that. So he saves a little bit of money on these administration fees. So this is why the farmer might want to use this system and so forth. Okay. So he gets all these tokens, right? Now these tokens, the amount of tokens is based on like how much of the crop share he's willing to put on the line here. So like maybe maybe he produces like 1,000 kilograms of wheat, and he just wants to do 10 kilograms in here or something like that. So he decides how many of of its crop he wants to mint into these tokens. Okay. Now that he has these like X tokens, he can sell them on Uniswap to the liquidity pool, assuming that there's other people who've already done this and the pool's already established. He's not the first farmer. So he can sell them on Uniswap, or he can do an OTC deal with the investor. Like, so somehow this investor could, just talk to him and be like, here, I'll buy some of these tokens off you, these X tokens, right? Now, assuming that he sells it to the liquidity pool, then along comes Mr. Investor and he's like, oh, this is a good deal. So he buys so that he can buy from this liquidity pool and he can get these X tokens. Now, like I said, these X tokens are an inflation hedge. So I should probably explain that. Like as think about it, as the value of the dollar goes down with inflation, then the price of products in the real world, like bread, goes up. So the price of commodities will go up as well because the price of products are going up, right? So if inflation is getting out of control, then maybe it's a good time to consider buying commodities because the price of those commodities should go up. But these are yield-bearing commodities, and they're not just commodity prices that could go up and down, but they're actually yield-bearing in a sense as well. So how to get them yielding? So basically, if you stake these X tokens into the contracts, then you will get C tokens, which are commodity to this. The price of this token is based on the Chainlink Oracle price of the commodity wheat, right? But the price of these tokens is based on the Uniswap liquidity pool, right? So they might start off 1-to-1, but they quickly change as people are buying and selling through this pool, right? So when you stake these X tokens, then you get 1 C token for every 1 X token. So you just get in 1 year. So the distribution doesn't happen at the end of the year. It happens every second or something like that, or every day. I can't remember. But you're going to get like streamed to you, streamed to your claiming contract, these C tokens that you can claim anytime throughout the year, and then they'll just keep getting streamed in there for the whole year. And it happens for forever. So long as you own these X tokens, you will be streamed these C tokens. Now, 1 C token is equal to 1 kilogram of this commodity, right? So the price of this commodity is based on 1 kilogram of it, okay? Now that you have these C tokens, you want money for them, right? So you can swap them with the contracts for USDC. But where does this USDC come from, right? So the farmer has given up a share of his crop, right? So he has to sell all of those crops at the end of the year or whenever, and then he gets US dollars and he works with the validator. So maybe he sends these US dollars to the validator's bank or some sort of system in place where these US dollars are, with the validator, are converted to USDC. Now, this is where the validator gets paid, is basically he takes 1% of this share, right? So it's in his best interest to try to make sure this farmer can pay and that he gets a good sizable crop share from that farmer, and that farmer is willing to participate and keep them happy, right? So he's going to get 1% of this USDC, or maybe these US dollars. I'm not sure when he's going to take out his 1% from this US dollar value. And then that's where this US dollar will come from. So you can sell your C tokens back to the contracts for the remaining USDC that's left in here. Okay. Now, there is the LNDX token, the governance token or the utility token of this protocol. And the validators are required to have a certain amount of it staked. So they need to buy this or obtain these land tokens and stake them. So I'm hoping that they have to buy them so that they can maintain the price of this. So if you want to be a validator, you need to have staked tokens, and these can be slashed. It doesn't quite say, but I asked some questions and they say it could be slashed, but there are all these safeguards, right? There is this contract here of the property. There's this deposit of 1 year, this deposit of a second year. So the chances of this actually getting slashed are pretty small, right? And then the investor too, so maybe Dollar Bill here, he has some of these tokens. Maybe he's bought them from Uniswap, or maybe there are some possibilities in the future to liquidity mine for these tokens, like maybe supplying to this liquidity pool, this Uniswap liquidity pool of this versus USDC. So, and then you can earn some of these governance tokens. Now, if you stake these governance tokens, then you'll of course get voting rights as well, right? But the main thing is you will get a portion of this as well. So he's getting 1% already, but then everybody who's staked is also getting a share of this 10%. So 10% of this is taken as protocol fee, and 60% is given to the stakers, 35% is given to the treasury, and then it says 5% is given to choice, which I assume is maybe the team or the DAO or the voters can decide what to do with this. Maybe they can rebeat the farmer. Maybe they can use it to help, research sustainable, farming stuff, or I don't know, right? So there's some choice here, okay? So the thing I really like about this is this yield is coming from real world assets. That's what makes this thing really special, and that's why I'm talking about it today. It's there's nothing like this in the blockchain that I've really seen that's very close to this. There is, Klima DAO, which has some carbon emissions and stuff like that. But this is interesting to me because it's incorporating real world into the blockchain, making the real world persons a little bit less easy. They don't need to go to the bank. They can do all this probably online, or at least just have a sit down with this validator person, right? The investor doesn't need to go through a lot of hoops. He can do this anonymously. This investor Dollar Bill could literally just be this logo guy here, Dollar Bill, and he can get some exposure to the commodities market without having to dox himself and so forth. And then these people can get these access to these funds quite easy without these, all this red tape and all these benefits of having choice and stuff. Now, if he wants to get out of this, because he owes for perpetuity, right? He owes forever this yield of these C tokens and so forth. He has to pay this forever, right? If he wants to unwind this position, then he has to buy back these X tokens. When he has all of these X tokens back, then he can use them to redeem them for his NFT, and then he can close down, basically burn this NFT, and then he's no longer obliged to this LandX system to pay this share of his crop. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for today. I hope this has been useful and interesting. As always, go to the docs, read the docs, go to the Discord, ask some questions, find out more about this project and whether or not you find it to be interesting. And that's it for today. Thank you so much. Goodbye.